I'm Jarrett Carpenter. This is Future Signal. Let's dive into this episode. We're going to talk about new all-time highs incoming for Bitcoin. And we're going to do a Q3 and Q4 Bitcoin price analysis. Before we get going, you should know this is not financial advice. This is edutainment. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, check out the link in the description so you can go watch this on YouTube. There is a presentation and some of the visuals are helpful. In this episode, we're going to dive into zooming out. When in doubt, zoom out, or just in general, zoom out. A historical outlook at the overall price changes month to month over the last decade and how that's going to help us to figure out Q3 and Q4 of this year. The overall Bitcoin cycle, always good to check in on that. Predictions, predicting Q3 and Q4 prices for 2025, not financial advice. And what I'm doing, I want to share with you exactly how I'm thinking about this. As we zoom out, here we go. This is a stock to flow of where we've been. And this starts around 2011, where the Bitcoin price was even under $1. And I think it's just really good to understand that the price has been up and to the right for the past 15 years, right? Since this thing started, people have taken interest. The attention has turned into investment, et cetera, et cetera. Now it's on Wall Street, now high net worth individuals, now sovereign wealth funds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Important to keep in mind, we will come back to this. Historical outlook. So here we go. Here is an outlook of the months, and this looks from 2013 to 2024. But you're looking at this and you're like, why do we care if it only goes up to 2024? We care about this because we're just focusing on the year 2021, 2017, and 2013 because these were Bitcoin bull run years. And to reacquaint us with the Bitcoin cycle, here's how it goes. You have a year where there's the halving. If we look more recently, the halving was in 2024. Now we're in a Bitcoin bull run year here. I've highlighted it. We're in a Bitcoin bull run year. 2025 should be a Bitcoin bull run year. I am someone who ascribes to the idea and the notion that we are still in cycles. Some people will say, oh, we've gotten out of that. Bitcoin's not going to have a 50 or 60 or 30 or 40% drawback. I still think there will be in 2026 a cooling and in 2027 a zombie. We will have to see. You can clip this, come back and roast me if I'm wrong. We will have to see. I still believe that we are in that. So we're going to focus on the years 2021, 2017, and 2013 for the months of August, September, October, November, and December to help us kind of understand what Q3 and Q4 could look like. So I've taken these numbers and I've put them over here in this chart, and these are the numbers that I get. And note that, yes, that number there for the averages of September, that should actually be a negative. As you see, they're all in red for September for the year 2021, 2017, and 2013. So August looks super bullish, very in green. September looks very not bullish. That will be a dip when people say, oh, Bitcoin's dead again. And then October is super bullish. And then November normally is super bullish. And if you see below, I have the averages. So the average price appreciation in percent in August is 36%. Over the 3 years, it's negative 5.1. Sorry, that should be a negative 5.1. In October, it's about plus 50% or plus 49.5%. In November, it's plus 165%, which is super skewed by 2013, where in November alone, it went up about 450%. And then finally in December, it's been red and green, red and green. It's been going back and forth, but it leaves us with an overall negative of about negative 5%. So what I wanted to do was to figure out what's going to happen in Q3 and Q4, right? I wanted to start assuming $120,000 Bitcoin. I think right now it's like 118.5. I just looked at it before I pressed record, but it's been in and around there. Went up to 123, fell down to 117. Let's split the difference and let's call it 120K. So let's assume that August starts with 120K Bitcoin. And then all we're going to do is apply the row that has the averages onto 120K Bitcoin. If you do that, we will finish August with $163,000 Bitcoin, assuming that it goes up 36% in August. August could be a very bullish month. However, in September, it would then drop down around 5.5% back down to 154,000. But then it would pump up a lot in October. October looks super bullish by about 50% since that was the average to leave us with 231,000 Bitcoin. And then in November, it would super shoot up because the average there is 165%, and it would get there to 614,000 Bitcoin. Wow. And then finally, it would cool off a little bit, going down 5% and end the year at $583,000 Bitcoin. Now, when I did this, I said, hold on. That number in November in 2013 is 449. And that throws everything off. It's such an outlier in what we're looking at. What if we did the numbers without that? That's what we did. So if Bitcoin price follows the last two cycles for the averages of the months of August, September, October, November, and December, let's run through what that would look like. Assuming we start August 1st with a $120,000 Bitcoin, we will finish August with $167,000 Bitcoin, saying it's going to go up 40%. This is actually even more than it was if we take into account 2013, because that was actually a little bit lower. So it would end August in 167,000. Then we get to September, and then it would dip. It would go down to 155,000, or down about 7%. Then in October, it would go up. So we used to say in October it would go up 49%. Now we're saying only 43%, so maybe a little bit more conservative. As the years have gone on, Bitcoin has started to have less and less gains. The gains are still ridiculous. They're less and less when compared to the previous cycles. But the previous cycles have been so ridiculous that if you had 1,000% in 1 month and then you only had 300% in 1 month is ridiculous. So here we go. We finish October going up 43% at 223. And then instead of over here where we went up 165% because it's so skewed by that November 2013 number, we would only go up, and I say only, 23% in that month to get to 275. And then finally, in December, we would go up about 10%, and that would leave us around 302. So $302,000 Bitcoin, which that sounds pretty sweet if we start August 1st on 120K, okay? What am I doing? Knowing that maybe this is the roller coaster we're in for, right? It's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go up, up, and up, and we finish the year around 300,000. What am I doing? So let's dive into that. These are some of the things that I'm keeping in mind. I want to give you some context, like the current context. ETFs are buying these things, okay? High net worth individuals are buying Bitcoin. Retail is slowly waking up. Banks can now offer Bitcoin services. This happened within like the last month. Something I didn't add in here. You can now use Bitcoin and crypto as collateral to be able to get loans for housing in the United States. Another massive thing. Sovereign nations aren't selling. The United States has basically said, right now we're not going to add to our Bitcoin treasury, but we're not going to sell. And that is really important because some nations over the last couple of years have sold, and now it's a laughing joke. It's like, wow, you were down billions just because you got to pump the brakes. You got to have a little patience. Bhutan is still mining. Bhutan, for me, is going to be the wealthiest nation in sats per citizens or sats per capita in our lifetime, because they have less than, I think, 1 million people, and they've been mining Bitcoin since 2018, 2019. They've been mining Bitcoin for a long time. And then finally, the supply and demand from the halving. If we think back to the Bitcoin halving, and do I have that on the next? Nope. If we think back to the Bitcoin halving, there's a certain period after the halving that things start to happen. And the Bitcoin halving happened on April 19th, 2024. So we're now more than a year out. And somewhere between that 12 to 20 month period is really where you see the bull run take off. And that's where we are. We'll go back to the stock and flow and I'll show you that. These are the predictions I made in 2024, April 2024. I said, look, Bitcoin is going to hit 100K. And at that time in April, it was like 40,000 people thought it was crazy. It did. Hit it 2024, hit 100K. This year, I think it's going to hit 225K. People have also said, dude, that's crazy. It's too high. But if we look at this, even if it follows the last two cycles, on the average of the last two cycles, we get to $300,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year. So you're watching this and you're like, oh man, we're at 120. I don't know how we possibly get to 300,000. Well, crazier things have absolutely happened to Bitcoin. Then you can see I have some other predictions that I do think it will cool off and eventually drop down, probably to around 60 to 80. The last cycle's high is always the next cycle's low. So the last cycle's high was 69,000. So I think if we go up to like 300 or 250 or 225 or over 200, whatever we are, I think we go down to about 69. And then people will say Bitcoin's dead. And if you're watching this channel and you're a Bitcoiner, you're going to be picking up sats on the cheap. That's what we do. This is something else I'm looking at. Because August and October have just been so bullish over the last, couple cycles, or I should say bull market cycles, I just want to be patient. I want to be patient. I think September is going to be really, really trying. I have the arrows here picking out August and October, but I think September will be really trying because if we have a month, and let's use the average, let's go back and use this average. Yeah, if we go for 120,000, we go up to 167,000, my gosh, by the end of August. it's going to be very hard to not be in a place of like, oh my gosh, we got to sell. So then as that cools down in September, that's going to be a tough time for people probably to not sell. But I think you got to be patient just to see what happens probably to the first couple weeks of October. This is what I'm doing now. Financial advice, I should say what I'm doing. I'm going to be patient through the first 2 weeks of October, see how things go, and then really start to think about my portfolio. And full disclosure, I have a lot of other crypto besides Bitcoin. I've been in crypto for a long time. And before I woke up to Bitcoin being really the place where I want to put my economic energy, I got all this other stuff. And that other stuff is still doing well. So I'm hoping to sell some of that other stuff at the end of this cycle, hold some cash, and then as we go back down and we cool, I'm hoping to get that money back in. Easier said than done. But you have to remember the Bitcoin cycle, right? Here we are in 2025 at the bottom, and 2026, the cooling, it's around the corner. And trying to time the top is nearly impossible. With that said, let's look at this diagram. We kicked the episode off looking at this diagram, and this is the stock to flow. And I think the most important thing is you need to look at the colors. And we just talked about the farther away you get from the halving, there's that 12 to 20 month period away from the halving where things normally happen as far as price appreciation. And that's kind of where we are. So if you look over here, or I should go back, if you look at this color, you can see that over the years, it's spiked. It's hit the top when it's hit green. Okay. So in 2014, 2015, it hit the green. In 2017 into 2018, it hit the green. In 2021, it hit the green. They actually had a double top there, if you remember. It was kind of a crazy one. We're still, if you look at the color code, we're just getting into the green. Okay. After the green comes the yellow. We're just getting into the green, which is why I only think we have about 90 to 120 days left in this cycle before it really, really starts to cool down. And if you look at that line right there, which is super important. So you have the Bitcoin price, which is all the colors, right? Then you have that like maroon line, which is really important. That maroon line is the stock to flow, or the 365-day average. That 365-day average, if you look towards the end of 2025 into 2026, is around $500,000. And we've just said that maybe it gets up to $300,000. If we go back here, and we're saying if it follows the last two cycles, it gets to $300,000. So then when I look at this, I'm like, well, that average is basically in and around $500,000. So if it hits 300,000, it's more or less there. And if we zoom in closer, I just really want to get you as close as we can. Here we are. It's starting to turn green. I said it the other day. I think we only have 90 to 120 days left in this cycle before things really start to cool off. We get into the cooling year, prices drop, people say Bitcoin's dead, and then we do it all over again. So with that said, what do you think? How are you planning? What are you thinking about this? What are you doing? Are you hodling? Are you do DCA selling? DCA selling is on the backside. As it starts to go up, are you selling some of your profits every week and saying, you know what, Bitcoin went up $10,000 in the last 2 weeks. Let me go ahead and take some money off the table for a rainy day. And when it goes back down, I buy back in, or maybe you use that money to do something else. We're all in this for something beyond Bitcoin. Normally, Bitcoin is just a vehicle for which is best to get there. It's the best way to save our economic energy today and save it for tomorrow. Tomorrow could be 10 years. Tomorrow could be 20 years. Tomorrow could be whenever. Everyone has a different time horizon. I would love to know what you're doing. So leave a comment below. And let me know if you think that this number, let's go back and find it, that this number, where is it? That this number, 302,000, are we going to get there? I will screenshot and share that religiously on X if we get there and I look like Nostradamus. I have no idea. I cannot predict the future. So let me know what you're doing. Let me know if 302,000 in the comments seems ridiculous, seems about right, or honestly, maybe I'm fudding the bag. Maybe that's bearish. I don't know. Thanks for watching this. Go ahead. You see on the bottom there, you can follow us on socials at FutureSignalXYZ. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe. It would mean a lot. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, please go ahead and subscribe. I will see you next week. Next week, I'm actually kicking off a new series of live streams starting on Tuesday, every Tuesday at noon. So make sure you're following us on X, YouTube, or LinkedIn, where we're going to be going live. I hope everyone is well, and let me know what you think.